Welcome to the Strong for Performance podcast, where we give coaches and consultants practical ideas for taking you to the next level in your business and in your life. I'm your host, Meredith Bell. I interview experts who've walked in your shoes and offer real-world experience that you can apply to your own journey. Welcome to another episode of the Strong for Performance podcast. I'm your host, Meredith Bell, and today I am very excited to have as my guest a really good friend and colleague and someone I really admire, Amy Evans. Amy, welcome to my show.
Thank you for having me, Meredith.
Well, you and I have had so many really great conversations that I thought, we've got to capture this because you are this energetic person who's doing so many great things in the world. I'm excited to be able to share you and what you're doing with my audience. And before we get into discussing those things, let me give a little bit more formal introduction so my audience will get to know who you are. Amy Evans is an entrepreneur who is passionate, and I can personally attest to that, about helping women step into their power both in business and in relationships. She's the founder of AlignWomen, a leadership and networking organization for professional women, and the host of the AlignWomen Podcast. And I encourage you to check that out. Amy does a great job interviewing some really wonderful women who are doing also good work in this world. In her other life, Amy is also the president of Colibri Insurance Services, and that's a boutique insurance agency that simplifies employee benefits for employers in Southern California. She also uses her expertise in the health insurance industry and the health insurance broker market to consult on a variety of projects. She's an active member of the National Association of Health Underwriters and is a regular speaker at insurance industry events. Amy is a really prolific social media user, and you'll find her engaging regularly on a variety of topics. And I highly recommend, we'll talk about it at the end, but Amy has a really active Facebook group for her AlignWomen network. I'm a member of that, and I just love the posts that she and others put on that forum. So we'll get into that a little bit later. So Amy, we have a lot to talk about. You've been such a successful businesswoman, and I love your passion for helping women really network effectively. So before we go into the details of that, tell us a little bit more about your journey to the work that you're doing today.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. It sounds so much more impressive when you read it than when I put it down on paper. I am a serial entrepreneur. It took me until my 30s to figure out that I was completely unemployable and really needed to be working for myself and not working with other people. I fell into sales accidentally because I followed a boy. Many of my stories in my early life start with that phrase. I followed a boy who had started a company with a really brilliant marketing idea and didn't really know how to build the infrastructure of the company. So he had a fantastic idea, but needed payroll and employees and operations. And so I helped him set that up. And once we built the company and built the product, we needed to sell it. So I just started talking to people about what we were doing and ended up flying to Atlanta and selling Coca-Cola on our product. And after that relationship fell apart and that business I left, when I was looking at what my next career would be, it occurred to me that if I could put a proposal together and sell Coca-Cola, I might actually be good at selling. So I fell into the insurance industry like so many people do. So few of us intend to be insurance agents and brokers. I was presented with an opportunity to work with a very well-known insurance company and learned the ropes, spent 10 years there, had a very successful career there, and then decided that I wanted to be a health insurance broker. So instead of selling one company's products, I wanted to work on behalf of my clients to help them find the appropriate products for them, and went to work for a couple of years at a large national agency so that I could learn the ropes there. And then in 2015, left and started my own insurance agency. So now in Southern California, I'm working with small businesses, helping them navigate the complexities of the Affordable Care Act and employee benefits, and simplifying that process as much as I can for them. And then in 2019, in the interest of networking more effectively for my insurance agency, I started a networking mastermind for other women in professional services who wanted to work with women, support their businesses, and not do the traditional pitch and pray 60-second elevator speech, post work day happy hour networking event circuit that we have here in Los Angeles. And so I put together a group of 10 women who were offering services similar to mine as an employee benefits broker. And we started working together, started generating revenue from our referrals real quickly. And that was the birth of AlignWomen, which then became more networking masterminds, a podcast, a Facebook community that has about 1,000 members, and now the opportunity to talk to people about how to network more effectively. And that has only been amplified by the lack of ability to go to some of those more traditional networking meetings, professional networking groups and chamber meetings and happy hours and things that we haven't been able to do in the last year. And AlignWomen was built to be a virtual networking platform that creates real intimacy amongst the small groups of members who are in the networking masterminds. And it's been wonderful for my business, wonderful for the businesses of the other women that are in the masterminds. And it, as I mentioned, has become a much bigger thing with this community of women that I am building both through the podcast and through the Facebook group.
So I'm intrigued, and I bet many of my listeners are, who've been on that network circuit and not felt especially aligned with that. I love the name of your group, AlignWomen. And so talk a little bit about, I know you said yours is virtual and that you've actually ended up referring business to each other. Go a little bit deeper about how does that actually work? How do you each learn about the opportunities that other members might have to present to you? Do you have a structure?
Yeah, we do. And I really wanted to build a structure that addressed a lot of the frustrations I was having in the more traditional networking platforms. So one of the foundational principles of the AlignWomen Networking Masterminds is that the members are all aligned from the beginning of our cycle together, which is a 12-month cycle. So I, as the leader of my mastermind, am selecting women who have similar products and or services and are working with similar clients, so that all of us know going in that, in my case, in my first networking mastermind, we're all serving small and medium businesses who are all looking for professional services like payroll, like employment law, like recruiting, like HR consulting, like employee benefits. And that alignment of our professions allows us to refer very easily. I had been in a networking group, a paid group previously, and I like to use this as an example. One of the members of the group was a criminal law attorney, and another member was an auto broker. And while both of them I respected for what they did, the likelihood that I was going to need them or that they were going to need me was very, very low. And I felt like getting the alignment in my group from the beginning would greatly amplify the opportunity for referrals, which it did. So the other piece of that alignment is in energy. Women who are in business development, who are interested in growing their businesses, who are growth minded and open to new opportunities, open to running ideas by the group and getting constructive feedback, and are also very engaged in terms of making referrals to their clients and to their networks. So another thing I experienced in some of those other groups was people who had been in these groups for, 20 or 30 years, who were really there more for the social aspect and even sometimes I've always done this, and so I'm always going to keep doing this kind of mentality, but not really interested in being engaged with the other members and working on business development. And I felt that was a really important quality. So one piece is how the members are aligned from the beginning of the group. The other piece is how we engage over the 12 months. And yes, there is a structure, and the meetings are built so that we can progressively learn about each other's businesses. So each meeting has a topic. There's a question that all the members get beforehand. We all answer the question during the meeting and engage with each other on that topic. And that could be clients, it could be marketing, it could be whether or not we have a loss leader in our business and how that works. It could be revenue. All of the topics are focused on business development and how we can improve our businesses and move them forward. And my belief before I started the networking masterminds was that the other things that women really enjoy about being in a group of women, the bonding, the friendship, and this is a word I haven't used, but other members of my masterminds have, the sisterhood, comes as a result of all the other work that we're doing together. And I've found when I've casually gotten together in groups of professional women, the conversations tend towards the social and not so much towards the business development. And I really wanted to flip that around, focus on the business development with the belief that the social would evolve. And it really has. And we really have a lovely, I'm running 2 masterminds right now. I'll be starting another one in the spring. And it's been such a wonderful experience. And I consider these women such good personal friends and such great resources for my business and for my clients. And I think you and I talked previously about one of my favorite success stories is in one of my groups. It has 10 members, and we have one client that 5 of us have touched. So the client came through the employment law attorney, went to the HR consultant, went to the payroll specialist, went to the employee benefits broker, and has now gone to the retirement plan specialist. And that tells me if we can take one client and 5 of us can work on it, that the alignment that I wanted on the front end is really working.
That's great. I love that, because I think folks that are listening, it may stimulate them to think, who might they know that they could align with, whether it's in a formal mastermind or informally. There are people out there who are providing complementary services, and you can save yourself a lot of time if you can develop, it sounds like, a lot of trust and respect for each other, so that if you have a client that, is near and dear to you, that you want to serve well, you have confidence in the members of that group, whatever number someone might put together. And one of the interesting things we've also talked about is last year, I think your word was networking or network, and this year it's leverage, right?
Oh, yes.
So talk about what's the difference between those two from your perspective.
Yeah. So networking is a word that's pretty closely associated with me, given what I've been doing for the last couple of years, building AlignWomen. And I really, the phrase is really networking with intention. So networking, going to a happy hour and wandering around a room of 50 people and hoping I bump into somebody that might be a good connection for me, doesn't feel as intentional to me as what I've built with the networking masterminds. Really focusing on what works with networking, what doesn't work, getting a lot of feedback from the women in my circle, and making adjustments to the AlignWomen format to make sure that we are getting the most out of it was my focus last year, and continues to be. The word leverage came to my attention when I read the amazing book How Women Rise by Sally Helgeson, and it really changed my life. It's one of the top 3 books that has had the biggest impact on me in my life, and it reviews 12 habits that women typically have. We've got to make some broad generalizations to have the conversation, but 12 habits that women are socialized to have that might hold them back in moving forward in their careers. And one of the habits, the one that just stuck out to me the most, was we're really good at building circles. We're good at building relationships. We're good at connecting, but we are not so good at leveraging those relationships. And one of the reasons is that we don't always own the value that we bring to an exchange. And if maybe a woman is younger in her career and is looking for mentorship from somebody who has more experience, she may be hesitant to develop that relationship because she's not really sure what she has to bring to that exchange with the older woman. And that just that whole description of how we, in our own internal talk, hold ourselves back from creating relationships that can really move us and our businesses forward, that really stood out to me. And so I wanted to bring attention to how to leverage relationships and how to feel good about leveraging relationships. One of the stories that she told in that chapter that I love so much was a woman who had no problem volunteering on a charity board and calling all of her close friends that she knew had means to ask them for donations to the charity. But when she wanted to move her own career forward, she was very, very reluctant to call the same people to ask them to make connections for her that she needed to move her career forward. And I think that's very true too. We're good at doing it on behalf of causes that we believe in, not necessarily as good doing it for ourselves. So bringing attention to that and talking about tools that can help make that process easier is one of my causes for 2021.
Couple different things there. I think you're so right. And so many of my listeners are service professionals, consultants, coaches who, to promote their businesses, they're promoting themselves. Mm-hmm. And that can be tough for them. So I want to come back to that. But the other thing about leverage is, do you find that some folks have, I won't say a negative connotation associated with that, but there is an angle that can feel like, and this goes back to stories we tell ourselves, right? But we associate it with using. And talk a little bit about the difference that you see in using a relationship versus leveraging a relationship.
Yeah, for me, leverage means creating a win-win-win. So that's one more win than most people talk about, right? So right. The win is for me, the win is for the person that I am engaging directly with. And because I am in a service provider business where I have a client that I'm taking care of, I want the win to be for them as well. So when I'm looking at leverage, I'm looking at how to get all of those wins in place. And also, and this is another one of my words for 2021, for me, leverage goes hand in hand with cultivation. And so I'm very focused this year on cultivating the relationships that I already have. And I think in sales and in marketing, a lot of times the messages are focused on more. How do you make more cold calls? How do you get more business cards? I was on a call this morning and a woman called that business card bingo, going to a networking event and playing business card bingo. And that so resonated with me. And another phrase that does is pitch and pray. Give your 60-second commercial and pitch yourself, and then cross your fingers and pray that somebody in the room needs what you do or knows somebody that needs what you do. And one of the things that did not sit well with me about traditional networking groups was when I wasn't having success, the message I kept getting from other people in the organization was go to more meetings and collect more business cards. And I thought, I have all the relationships I need. I don't need more business cards. I don't need to meet somebody once, know that they could be a valuable connection, and then just discard their card and go on to the next person, or add them to my email list and hope that my monthly newsletter was going to somehow turn into new business. I really wanted to cultivate the relationships that I had. So in conjunction with leverage this year, I'm really focused on a core group of 50 people who I know are service providers that offer complementary services to what I do, who have been good referral sources for me in the past, who I have a spark with, so that when we communicate, we have lots of creative juices flowing, and all of those qualities together make for people that I want to get to know even better, and then figure out how we can leverage our relationship to create success for both the two of us and for our respective clients. Mm-hmm. So leverage for me really goes hand in hand with cultivation. And I understand that leverage as a word by itself can kind of sound like, how can I use this person to get what I want? But with cultivation, I think it makes the word a little nicer and really implies getting to know that person even better to figure out how we can be of service to each other.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I also like your emphasis on win-win-win. Mm-hmm. I think that's a great approach to take. And I just like everything you've said about the use of that word leverage. I think we all need to just question associations we have with certain words to get past it, so they don't hold us back from considering new ideas. Well, the thing I wanted to circle back around was related to your experience in sales and how you developed in sales. Because when you and I have spoken before, you didn't just have this automatic sales personality, if there is such a thing. But in other words, sales didn't necessarily come comfortable to you or naturally initially, but you have really excelled there. So I would love for you to share, because I know I have listeners who have hesitation about selling. It's, they conjure up this fear and other negative words and emotions around that. So talk about your success. What did you put together that allowed you to ask?
Yeah, so you're right. I mean, most people don't go to school for sales. That's not you can go to school for communication, which helps. And I was an English major, so that probably factors into it somewhere. I think first, whatever you're selling, you really need to believe in. I think when you don't believe in it, there's a lack of authenticity that people can smell and feel. And so really believing in the value of what you do and really connecting to how the person who purchases your product or service will benefit. So what's the improvement in their life that they're going to get from purchasing what you're selling? And staying focused on that, I think, allows people to kind of come out of themselves and go, oh, right, if this person didn't have a really good financial plan, that might make it a lot harder for them to retire and feel financially secure. So I really believe in helping people put a good financial plan together. Or if this person didn't understand their health insurance policy when they were sick or hurt, it might make it hard for them to get the care that they need. And that could cause a financial challenge for them. So I want to be really sure that they understand how their health insurance works. And focusing on the end user and the benefits that they'll get from what I'm selling has really helped me to be confident about what it is that I'm offering. I'm not selling it because I want your money. I'm selling it because I really believe this is going to help you. And related to that, I believe that sales in its purest is teaching. When I can sit down with somebody and explain to them what this thing is, how this thing works, and the benefits that they'll get from it, if they see that and agree with it and they buy it, I haven't used any sales tactics. And I think that's where people start feeling icky, when there's manipulative tactics to try and get somebody to do something that isn't maybe what they want to do, but they've been tricked or misled into doing it. if it's straight education, if it's explaining to somebody how something works and how it's going to benefit them, and they see that and agree to it, and I make a sale from it, I've just educated them. And that's very easy for me to do. I am a teacher at heart. I would have been in another life, I would have been an American Lit professor and gotten my doctorate in American literature. So I have seen that paradigm shift when I have explained to other people who've struggled with the idea of sales. I've seen that paradigm shift really help, that it's education, that you're sharing information, that you're teaching them about how what you're selling is going to benefit them. And that opens up a door to all kinds of willingness to market that I think when someone's just thinking about icky sales tactics, they're not as willing to do. So I encourage people to think of it as teaching and approach it as teaching to make it feel more comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Well, that makes perfect sense. I had wanted to be a teacher since I was a little kid. And so I identify with your teaching focus. And what's cool is there are so many ways that if you have that natural ability to want to be able to explain things to other people, then sales can be very effective. And I like that distinction you just made. And you were mentioning that you've helped some people make that paradigm shift. What is it that you've noticed they need to change about, say, their mindset or the way they think about sales in order to be more effective when they're in front of that prospective client?
That's such a great question. And um, I say this particularly for women, but I say this for anybody. And I used to run a team when I was with an insurance company. I ran a team of 13 brand shiny new 1099 salespeople. So I've had these conversations a lot. You know more than you think you know. And understanding that and embracing it, I think helps people realize that they have value to bring, even if they're relatively new in the sales process. And one of the things I have talked to people about when it comes to social media posting, because I've done some training in the insurance industry about how to use social media. It is not a tool that a lot of that is widely adopted in the insurance industry at this point. One of the tips I like to give is go into your emails and look at the last week of emails that you've exchanged with clients or prospective clients. And I bet you can pull out 5 frequently asked questions that you answer all the time about the value of what you do, whether it's about a specific product or how should I think about this, or when should I consider signing up for Medicare, or when should I have a financial plan in place, whatever that is. And there's probably 5 should ask questions that you wish your clients, your audience understood about what you do. And if they ask those things earlier in the process, they would probably be better off. You could pull those questions just out of your sent emails and you'd have 5 or 10 social media posts right there, or articles that you could write on LinkedIn, or quick videos that you could make to explain to people what you do. And I think as salespeople, when we get into the weeds about what we do, because we see the whole picture about how all this stuff interrelates, I think sometimes we overcomplicate it. And sometimes just taking a little bite out of it and going, hey, here's a little tip that you should know. Most people who don't do what you do and don't speak the language that you do will find that incredibly valuable. So I would say most people know more than they think they do, and they need to simplify it in terms of using those messages as sales tools, as marketing tools.
That's great. Do you have an example of someone you've helped that sort of made this transition from one way of approaching or way of thinking about sales compared to a new, fresh way that was more helpful?
I have a very good friend named Dawn, who is an insurance broker like me, and who came into the insurance industry, like so many of us do, not super clear on which direction she wanted to take. And we spent some time in 2019. I spent some time coaching her. And I really believe in a values-based approach to absolutely everything. I believe that when you understand what your values are, then you can carry those forward both in your personal life and your professional life to do things that are really resonant with you and aligned with what's important to you. And so I took her through the process of identifying her values and then using those to determine what her boundaries were about who she was willing to work with and who she wasn't, and what her non-negotiables were, and then use those as a filter for all of the things she was working on to determine whether the commitments that she had made were really aligned with what was important to her. And I find, especially since I work so much with women, we tend to overcommit. We tend to take on lots of projects. We like being asked. We like fulfilling things. Sometimes I've certainly said, and I've heard other people say, I don't really have time to do that, but I know I can do that better than anybody else can and more efficiently than anybody else can. So I'll just take that on. And when people say they have a time management problem, I think the truth is they have a priority management problem. And when people can really connect with their values and what their true priorities are, not only can it clear away the clutter, but that values piece can then carry forwards in terms of confidence to say, right, I am selling Medicare because I really believe in serving the senior market. I see how they have been underserved, and I see how there are unscrupulous people in the senior market, and I want to be a person who brings the information to them and takes good care of them to make sure that they have what they need. And when she was able to connect all of those pieces, it's really changed how she presents herself, her comfort level with marketing her services, even being on video on social media, which I think when we started working together is something she would not have imagined being comfortable with. So that's an example of how all of those pieces kind of tie together.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I really like what you described there, because one of the key things to me that's a takeaway for listeners is this taking the time, slow down, to really identify who do you most resonate with, or who most resonates with you in terms of their needs and how you can serve them. And my guess is part of her getting more comfortable with video was being able to visualize those seniors that she was helping instead of just, general people. There's an emotional connection that you can make the more niched down you go. And I think that's a really essential point when thinking about who can I best serve and how can I most comfortably approach those folks. So getting listeners to just think, who do you relate to? Who do you connect with? Who have been your most personally satisfying clients to work with, so that then makes it easier to get past those moments of discomfort in approaching.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. And I know because I've been there I'm running my 5th and 6th business now concurrently. So as a serial entrepreneur, you start the new business and then you have to sell what you've started. And niching down is scary in the beginning, because you want to take whoever's coming, whoever's willing to give you money. It's a little scary to say, no, everybody's not my client. This is my focus. And that can be super scary in the beginning, but there's a very emotional connection. I like the way you described it. Like, who lights you up? Who have you been the most satisfied to serve? When you talk about that, I mean, you can see it. Sometimes people reflect back, somebody's smile gets bigger and their eyes get brighter. I was just on a call this morning with a sales coach, finishing up a 6-week program. And one of the members in our group had a shift in audience during the 6 weeks that we worked together, and realized that it was the senior market that she really wanted to serve. And that coach reflected to her that when she talked about the senior market, she saw that change. She saw that this woman lit up and was really excited talking about that group. And it helped her to realize that that's who she wanted to focus on.
And the benefits of a mastermind group like the ones you've put together, and it's a year-long commitment you've got. So you all really get to know each other, and you're able to really reflect back what you're seeing. I would think that would be sort of a side benefit of being a part of one of those groups.
For sure. The unfolding of the understanding of us and our businesses is a really important part of that process. And I've been in informal groups, even split off groups. So maybe I was in a chamber and a couple of people said, hey, we all kind of do the same thing. Let's get together once a month for coffee. And, it works for 1 month or 2 months, and then one person can't make it. And then it sort of unravels, and there's no accountability. And there's no expectation of engagement that really carries that through. And it was important to me to build a container that has a financial commitment and it has a time commitment, so that everybody who enters it knows we're here for the long haul. And that allows those relationships to unfold. So like you said, we can reflect things back to each other. We have a level of trust. Someone can even the friend Dawn I was talking about, when she started making videos, she brought sort of the raw version to the group and said, I'm really nervous putting this out here, but I really want your feedback. And we were able to give her some really valuable feedback. So yes, creating a container like that allows for the richness of those relationships in a way that no other group that I've been a part of has.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the structure you've put in place is just remarkable. And I want you to tell us, you started with the first one that was business to business, right? And then you did a second one that was business to consumer. So talk a little bit about, and then you've got 2 more coming up. So describe why you decided 1 was not enough and 2 was not enough, and why the need to expand.
Yeah. So the idea has always been that this format is duplicable. So I started the format in service to my business as an insurance broker. So as an insurance broker, I work with small and medium businesses in Southern California, and my clients need other professional services. And I wanted a network of women who were offering those complementary services so that we could all send referrals back and forth. And so my business is business to business. I'm selling my services to other businesses. And so I wanted a group of women who were also all business to business. I have a large circle of people, and many of them are business to consumer. My friend Dawn that I was talking about is one of those. So she sells to individuals in the senior market. And so her business structure wasn't the right fit for the first mastermind. And so I built a second one around her and other women who sell business to consumers. So that's an individual financial planner and a woman who serves the senior market, helping people manage their moves when they're going from, say, a house to a senior living home, and a reverse mortgage specialist who works with individuals. So the business to consumer group was born out of the desire to take this format and allow another group of women to use it and to benefit from it. Now I have other women who are also business to business, who do similar things to the women that are already in my first group. So there is exclusivity. Once we have an employment law attorney, we don't want another employment law attorney. So I'm looking at building a second business to business group that really is a duplicate of the first, but with an entirely new group of women. Mm-hmm. And then I'm also looking at a leadership group that is not geographically bound like the other groups are. So pre-COVID, when I started AlignWomen, one of the tenets of the alignment of the members is that we were all in the same geography, so that if I was going out to visit a client, I could call up the retirement plan specialist and say, hey, come with me. I want you to meet this client. They've been asking some questions about setting up a retirement plan. Let's get you in front of them. I'm not quite ready to let go of the geography yet. I'm not sure if that'll continue to be a defining factor of these groups, but I'd also like to have a leadership group of women anywhere in the country or really anywhere in the world who want to focus more on like business planning and leadership, as opposed to business development. So it's branching out in fun and wonderful and interesting ways as I continue to spend time on it and to get feedback from other people who are interested in participating.
Well, I love seeing your, creative juices just taking you in all kinds of interesting directions based on your own personal interest. And I think there's a really important takeaway there for folks listening to this, because while they might not want to do a mastermind around what you've, created, they may have other ideas of ways to pull clients together in a way that would be supportive. So this leadership group that you're talking about expands your thinking and potential members in terms of who could belong and how they could benefit, what kinds of topics you could cover. So it's serving a purpose to keep your own endless curiosity that you have engaged with new and exciting projects. So I think that what you've been talking about is just really powerful for people if they allow their own creative ideas to emerge with things that they could do to bring others together and leverage and cultivate. I love those words. Mm-hmm. We're getting close to time, but I do want to give you a minute to talk about your AlignWomen group on Facebook, why you started that, what the purpose is, and how can people get it, especially women. I guess it's exclusively for women, right?
Yeah.
So how can my women listeners become a part of that?
So AlignWomen is very present on social media, and people of any gender are welcome to visit our website or visit our Facebook page or LinkedIn page. The Facebook group is a community exclusive to women. And I built that initially because I had a lot of people reaching out to me interested in what I was doing once I started the first mastermind. And once I started the first mastermind, it was closed. So we found the 10 women, we got it rolling. It was a 12-month commitment, and there wasn't anything else for me to offer. And I had a lot of people reaching out and saying, what are you doing? This is an interesting idea. How do I get involved? And that was the original reason I founded the Facebook community, was to gather those people together, like-minded people that supported women's empowerment, that were interested in engaging in productive conversations about building businesses, driving revenue, quality referrals, getting feedback on marketing. There are a lot of women's groups on Facebook, but my experience has been that the content there is not always super valuable. And I wanted to create a group where there was a very high level of discourse. Mm-hmm. So it started growing. It's up to about 1,000 members. It is a wonderful place for women to ask questions, get feedback from other women, share ideas, request referrals. And I am committed to providing a high level of value. I do live videos. I invite other women in to provide training on topics that either I think would be of value or that other people have requested. I'm super excited, Meredith, that you've agreed to come in and do a training on communication for the community. So it's continuing to grow. Everything about AlignWomen is exciting and energizing, and I don't know what the end point is. My business coach wants me to say what I want this to look like in 10 years, and I just don't have an answer for her, because it has a lot of energy behind it, but the path I'm totally comfortable saying is not clear. My husband likes to say, as long as the path is either lit or straight, keep going. And I would say this path isn't straight because I can't see the end of it, but it is definitely lit by all of the amazing women that are so supportive of the community that we're creating through the masterminds and the Facebook group and the podcast.
Just hearing you talk in not so many years ago, I would have been sitting here probably feeling a little angst for you. How could you not know? But now I am just so much more comfortable myself with ambiguity and not having everything mapped out and allowing things to evolve. I think what that does is it keeps us open to it kind of keeps our radar up to notice things that might present themselves as opportunities that we wouldn't have seen if we had mapped out a very rigid path that was straight.
Yep.
A lot of times it's a lot more fun, and I just see you enjoying crooked paths.
Well, one of the underpinnings of that, to go back to something we mentioned before, is I am very clear on my values. I know what is important to me and what drives me, both from a personal perspective and from an organizational perspective. Knowing that gives me my foundation so that when new opportunities come, I mentioned using the values as a filter, I can say, boy, I didn't see that coming at all, but it ticks off all the boxes for all the things that are really important to me. So this is clearly a good thing to do, even though I could not possibly have predicted that that was an opportunity that was going to present itself. And I would much rather be in that open position rather than saying, well, no, I'm focused on just public speaking and you came to me with a book deal. A book deal isn't what I want to do at all. Well, that maybe it is. Maybe it ticks off all the boxes. And so I want to be open to what those possibilities are, because I'm not smart enough to predict all of that. I can't see where all of this is going. If the last year's taught me anything, it's that I can't see where it's all going. I just want to be open to the things that are aligned with what's important to me.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's awesome. And I want to encourage my listeners to check out Amy Evans on the various social media platforms. And Amy, I want to invite women to, I guess, like your Facebook page, but also explore and consider joining your group, because it really is filled with a lot of value. And I know most of us think, I don't need to join anything else, but you can check out the content as time allows, and it makes a big difference. Tell us your website so people can also check out your services, your mastermind groups, and anything else that may have interested them based on our conversation.
For sure. You can go to AlignWomen.org, AlignWomen.org. And there's information about our networking masterminds, including a form that you can complete if you're interested in learning more information. There are links to all of our social media pages and a link to our Facebook group. So that is a one-stop shop that'll give you lots of information for the organization.
Excellent. Well, Amy, thank you for who you are in the world. I just love the work you're doing, the way you're so committed to serving women, and the positive energy you bring. I know I love every time I get to be in a group meeting or in a one-on-one conversation with you, because you just give so much, and I just enjoy you so much.
Thank you, Meredith. You are definitely one of my sparks, and I always have fun talking with you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Strong for Performance podcast. Now head over to growstrongleaders.com/free and grab our ebook, Listen Like a Pro. You'll find out how to connect on a deeper level with the people who matter to you. And while you're there, check out our 2 books, Connect with Your Team and Peer Coaching Made Simple. Until next time, I'm Meredith Bell.